Hi, it's Paula from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be working with half hexes. If you saw my processing scraps tutorial, you know I cut fabric for specific project as well as just normal scrap cutting, and hexes were on my agenda for quite some time now. I have small ruler to cut them, and I could easily put them together that way. But it's going to be a lot of small pieces to put together, and I like to work with bigger ones. So instead I will show you how I made mine bigger and even more scrappy. I will need to make a larger template to work with, and I'm using for that a comic book backing paper, but you can use any thicker carton paper, something that will be not too much, wiggly. I decided to double my hexi in size, so I want it to be 5-inch high, so it's kind of easy to work with my rulers. Paper is 11-inch wide already, so I will leave it as is. And then I need some markings to do the rest of the shape, so I will mark 3 inches from both of the sides on that rectangle, and that will give me the angle to cut the shape. So top is now 5-inch. I will also mark a middle point. I will need it later when I'm kind of checking my hexes, how far I've got with. The side markings are also a point where a small hexi will sit, so it will be useful when we're going to add scraps. We don't want to add more than we need to. These half hexes are quite busy, and if I just add scraps around, they will kind of disappear. And so to prevent it, I will first add a black frame around it. I have some 1-inch strips left from another project. Obviously you can use other color, whatever you've got in your stash, something kind of giving a little bit of contrast there. And then I will fill up all the sides with my wonky scraps. Again, use whatever scraps you've got. Now with the sewing, you can kind of use the log cabin method to do the one side top and the other side, but that will take a little bit of extra time because you need to kind of square up as you go along. So let me show you how I kind of speed up that process a little bit. I will first stitch tops, so I can just quickly chain pieces. There's no gap in between them because how we will square it up later, there's no need to have extra fabric on the sides. So I just quickly cut in between and iron it. You can use rotary cutter or scissors to cut the shape, depending how confident you are. Even if you cut a little bit uneven, that can be lost in 1/4 inch allowance later, so choose whatever is more comfortable for you. Now add one side, make sure you leave now the gap in between because there will be that angle we need to remember about. So now when you're going to cut in between, make sure you open them up and have a look how you need to cut to make sure it's okay there. And then sew the other side again with a larger gap. So all chain piece, there's no need to iron in between, but once the both sides are there, that's when I'm going to iron it. Now trim top and bottom. I'm leaving a little bit bottom longer just so it's easier later to square it up all together. Now I've used my template to see how much I need to add at the top and how much I need to add at the side, so top first. Again, to speed up the process, I'm not going to be going around, I'm just going to sew tops only until I've got enough and a little bit more. So I want to have at least 1/2 inch more than my template above it. I can use smaller pieces here because again we'll be making the triangle shape there, so the scraps do not have to be very wide. So chain piecing here, I'm gonna piece one after another until I feel like I've got enough in the width there, and then I can take it to the ironing board in one go. Every time I sew a piece, I will trim it a little bit in the right direction, just so I know how kind of long pieces I need to add next time. After a few rounds of adding, I can now check against the template if it's big enough, and I can now trim to, like I said, about 5.5 inches at the top. Now it's time to add the sides, and again, to speed up the process, I'll just do one side first, you know, add a few pieces. Every few pieces, or every time I can see that, you know, I'm getting to the right size, I will check it against the template, see how much more I need to add, so that middle markings there are helpful to make sure I can see how far I am with everything. If you're trimming your strips, make sure you leave them longer to account for the angle again of that cut. But if you kind of miss it, you cut the strip not enough, just sew another piece at the bottom later. It's not a problem at all. Last ironing, I added some spray starch so it's easier to trim. Now, you know, there's a lot of seams there, so that stabilization will work well there. And again, batch work. So first I trimmed the bottom, so all of those sticking out pieces are gone now, and the top to 5-inch. Now I need to find the middle of my block. I use finger pressing here, but I actually ironed blocks into half, you know, when I had a bigger batch, and I'm using the inner black edge of those seams as a point to put together for this cut. Now I can use my middle marking on the template to put the block on and cut the sides. Now I've got the other option how you can square up your block. So I've used a mat, so I use a small pieces of tape to mark where the middle line is. I mean, you use any part of the mat. It's just you want to mark where's the middle, where are the sides, so that's the distance 5 inches in between, and then which line shows 11 inches. I'm matching middle line of the block with the middle line of my markings, and I just need to trim from top mark to bottom mark. Use the method you feel is more comfortable and it's easier for you. And the block is ready. So now let's have a look at some blocks and layouts we can get from it. This block's coming out very scrappy and really full, rich in colors, and you can use a lot of scraps here. But if you like to calm it down a little bit, in part 2 of this block tutorial I will show you some other block options and how they can kind of go together, and how, you know, how they will look together. I will also try to figure out how to calculate how many of half hexes I will need for my project. I didn't go that far yet. So thank you very much for joining me today. As usual, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and now you can also find me on my own website. I will be very grateful if you subscribe both to this channel and to my website, and you will be immediately notified when the new tutorials and the videos will come out. All details are in the description below. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.